Welcome to this workshop on harm reduction and the integration of sex trafficking and exploitation, women at risk. And my name is January, and I'm the founder of Soap to Hope, and I'm a survivor. And so this is a little bit about my story, and I'm a huge advocate, and I feel like it's a forgotten population in peer support, is survivor peer support, right? And so I am a huge advocate, and I'm always going to be the nagging step kid that needs attention when it comes to this topic. Because, and we're not talking about it enough in rooms, right? That there's survivors in the rooms. And I wasn't trafficked because I had an addiction problem. It's because it was my vulnerability exposed, right? And we put people in treatment being like, we're gonna fix your addiction, and then you're gonna cognitively say, if you didn't have an addiction problem, that you wouldn't have been trafficked, and it's not okay. So that's like saying, if you wouldn't have pissed off your husband last night, you wouldn't have eaten. That is not okay. And so, I could say that I am the sea bag of the recovery community. Just so you know. I have over 16 years in recovery. And I don't say that lightly. I had to fight. I've had to fight for every day. A lot of people come to recovery and they see rainbows and unicorns. I did not see any of that. I have never seen that in recovery. I've seen a lot of miracles, and I've seen a lot of epic things, and I've got to do incredible things, but that doesn't mean I don't have to wake up every day and fight for that. Because my trauma responses are real. My behaviors are not fixed. I'm still on my healing journey, right? And my story of exploitation and trafficking didn't come out until I was 10 years clean, and I almost committed suicide. I was already 10 years in a 12-step program. I was like the person that served on committees for 10 years. I was the chair. I started Narcotics Anonymous meetings in every area you could probably think of where it was easy ask, like let's put one here so somebody can get off the tracks here. Let's put one here because they don't have it in their area. Like I was that person, right? You would catch me at every service committee. You would catch me picking up butt camp, like cigarette butts. I was so dedicated to that program, right? And I had a bunch of barriers there, right? I couldn't get past the word God. I couldn't get past the relationships with women because my trafficker was female. I couldn't get past that, like, remove these character defects and everything's gonna go away, right? But I still needed survival, right? There were still men in the program that triggered me. There was still newcomers coming in being targeted that was triggering me, and like I didn't know what was going on, right? And so it took me a long time to figure that out and figure out my own story and let that all come out, and it almost came out with suicide, right? Where I was like, I don't want to go pick up, but I don't have nowhere else to go. I've been doing this for so long, I have nowhere else to go. There was no survivors talking about their exploitation, none of that stuff, right? I had nowhere to go, right? So I lost myself in losing my identity in a 12-step program, and then I lost myself in this place that I didn't have, that I wasn't enough to go seek help. So this is a little bit about me. I run a nonprofit. We work with harm reduction, strategies, building awareness, resources, advocating. I could probably just do it down here because this is like too much for me. And I have classes. So they're working in high-risk sex trade in our vulnerable communities. So what we are, and I'm going to get to that sooner or later, but I'm going to just tell you, I'm a survivor that is for the forgotten. And my story was that I was on the streets. I wasn't taken, I wasn't, targeted outside like online or anything like that. Like, so I want to get to the streets and I want to bring awareness to that. So, and I wanted to knock on hotel doors. Like I wanted to knock on their door, meeting them where they're at. So I started this service project. I thought it was going to be, called it the Slut Walk, which is so stigmatizing. But it was supposed to be SLUT, which was Salt Lake, Utah, walking. And But anyways, it ended up becoming Soap to Hope, and I do a lot of other things. I'm the first ever felon and survivor that's the co-chair of a victim services subcommittee with the Attorney General's office. So we're changing that, and they probably wish they never would have voted me. But just, they love me, but they wish they would have. And I'm a board member of Hope on Tap. I don't know if they've been here today or if anybody's met Saquon. If you don't know about Saquon, you need to know her. It's this testing, knowing your status, incredible human, peer that's doing incredible stuff. And so I'm honored to be a part of that organization, and I'm here to end the silence. I'm here to end the silence to your story. So some of you guys might get triggered in here. Some of you guys have maybe never even come out with your story. That you're women at risk, you've been sexually assaulted, you've been trafficked, you've been exploited, you've been pimped, you've been high-risk sex worker, an escort. You might never, that piece might have never come out in your story. And today I might trigger that, right? Like that piece of your story might come out. I'm going to suggest you get with your other peers, your support system, if you have a sponsor, if you have a community, please get with somebody after this, talk to them, and know that your story needs to be heard and you need to end the silence, because it doesn't matter how long you have been here, if you have 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, if you don't end the silence of that story, you're closer to your next high than you are moving away from the last one. And so, this is where my story comes in. And I'm going to just give you a few things about sexual exploitation, and I'm going to go into why harm reduction is huge, and why I'm involved in the harm reduction program, because this is the psychological effects of this, right? It experiences depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorders, coping with substance and other mental health issues. And this is where you have shame, guilt, and worthiness, and it's difficult to seek help and recover from this trauma, right? I have women that have come to me and they're like, I think this happened to me, right? And that's me. Like, I didn't know what happened to me. That wasn't a word that was being used back then. I mean, I don't know, I act really immature, but I'm really in my mid-40s. Just so you know. I'm mid-40s, I'm a grandma, I'm a mom, all that stuff. And so, when I was a teen, nobody was talking about sex trafficking. Nobody was talking, like maybe every once in a while I'd be like, I'm from Denver and on the street, so there's like a pimp on, pimping his girls on the corner. But like, I never identified with that, right? And so when my story came out, where I had, like, it's unnoticed and was unreported. I can't go back 25 years and do anything about that. And I wrote a book about this. My trafficker, she actually took a hot shot probably like 10 years ago, and she killed herself, right? And I was emotional. Like, I was emotional. Like, I cried, because that's the only woman that was looking for me. She bathed me, she combed my hair, she fed me dope, she allowed me to be angry, she allowed me to bring other kids on that property where we had nowhere else to go. We had nowhere else to go. And I thought she loved me, and I think she did. I really honestly do. But how do I know that she wasn't trafficked? Her family wasn't the predator? I don't know any of that, right? But I'm grateful somebody was looking for me, because no one was. Every time I left that property, she was like, oh, we gotta bring you back, right? Like, come on. And she knew I was shattered, right? I was a severe cutter, malnutrition, super addicted at a really young age, very sexually active, very, defiant. I was already involved in the criminal justice system. I went to prison at 16. I was the perfect ingredient for a predator, right? And so all of my actual trauma was unnoticed and unreported, because all the words that people used against me were, right? You're a slut, you're just a juvenile delinquent, you're never gonna amount to anything, you come from a broken home, that's all she's ever gonna amount to, she's making a choice. And so all of these psychological effects were just brewing, right? So then I became my own trafficker, right? I learned how to sell myself. I learned how to sell other people, and I knew how to groom and target other people. right? So I became this monster and this broken kid at the same time. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had these issues, right? So they're so unnoticed and unreported, and we gotta start asking people what happened to them. Not what's wrong with you, none of that stuff. What happened to you? What brought you here, right? And the social effects of trafficking, there's a lot of stigmatization in it, right? And nobody wants to talk about that stigma. There's a couple of girls in here that I know that are survivors. They've been a part of my organization. Like, it's hard to come out with that piece of the story, right? Because what happens is it's like, you could be, like some of like people when I first came into recovery were like, you probably have HIV or Hep C, you know, you're just a slut, you're gonna always look for that, like any man to talk to, you're actually after them, right? Like it was so, like it's so difficult to come out with that, right? Like there's so much kind of pride and honor in our recovery community, and especially in the CPSS world, is like, I'm an addict and I get to help people, right? But there's so much more to your story. There's so much more, and there's so much re-victimization here about sharing your story over and over and over and over and over because someone told you you have to help the newcomer. And you're dying inside. You're dying inside. Right? And so this like emotional trauma just doesn't go away. It's a topic in my book, Trauma too. Trauma just doesn't go away. and I had to learn that I'm gonna live with what happened to me, who I am, who I'm not, and who I'm going to be, all at the same time. And that's probably one of the hardest tasks I've ever had to do, right? And to know that I was absolutely targeted for certain things and groomed because of those, with my addiction, or with my poverty, or with a broken home, or that I was already sexually active at the age of 6, or if I was already sexually assaulted, like that somebody actually could see those because I was like a red vacant sign, right? And so, as peer support, or if you're in peer support, really it's important to help them look at these social effects. It'll impact you. I'm 45 and over 16 years in recovery. Get me in a grocery store. It's a good time. It's a good time, but for me to not see on the other side of those aisles, I'll absolutely panic. My boyfriend, I'm like, Marco! Right? I'm like, I don't know who's on the other side of those, right? And then if you see me with a kid wandering around by himself, oh dude, it's over, right? Like I'm like, God, not even my kid. Now I look like a predator and I'm like targeting this kid. Right? Like, I'm like, mom comes around the corner like, you okay? I'm like, are you? Right? And I'm like, so I've had to learn to live in that, right? And so it's like I said, it's a good time, and I've been learning to laugh about it, and I can do that, but that doesn't mean when I get home, the anxiety, the manic disorder that comes up, the inability to sift through my own trigger responses and understand that I'm safe or unsafe is still new to me some days. Traveling with me is a hoop too. Everybody in the backseat of a car is being trafficked. You know what I mean? Every little kid, even though they're on a family trip. I'm like, you're gonna pull into that gas station where they all just pull over, right? And but I've learned how to sift through that, and it just affects me socially. Like I have a hard time. Like I love peopling, right? I was just talking. It's a lot for me. Like I have to be so observant all the time. I am so observant. And you'll catch me. I'll be talking to you and literally I'm watching. Like totally look like I disengaged from the whole conversation. Where I'm like, who's walking behind me? Who's not, right? And I'm just learning that it's just part of my sociopathic characters that are pretty cool. That's what I want to say. That's what I'm gonna say. It makes me a good character and a good time to hang out with. probably soap to hope at the end of the day, if I really had to think the why, is the grooming that goes on, right? And being targeted is that it's exactly what it is. They're trying to exploit you, right? I don't know who in here has this part of their story, but grooming can happen to anybody. Like it's even male, like every community, every population, every disability. I know families that exploit their disabled parent for money. You know what I mean? Like, so exploitation is exactly what it is. It's exploitation, right? But you talk about on the streets where a lot of our people that are running from their childhood trauma, they're looking to be validated, their self-worth, their safety, they're looking for intimacy, food, shelter, they're looking for addiction, is like grooming just happens just naturally out there. Like it's like just a natural response. And traffickers, Johns, tricks, pimps, that they love, that's their breeding ground, is our, you know, in some of our communities, our homeless, high-risk, marginalized areas, refugee areas, immigration areas, like, you know, where they put all these areas are always being groomed and targeted. And we work with a lot of these women that have a lot of this history, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of the women that we talk to, especially our youth, our aged youth that are aging out of the foster care system, don't get me started on that system. Or the girls that are younger out there, you were to actually talk to them about trafficking and they're being pimped and like selling themselves, or that they're, you know, that they're in a high risk sex trade. Most of them would be like, I'd rather be having sex with a stranger than my dad my entire life. Right? And what response do you say to that? Right? What response do you say to that? Right? We had a girl that was being on missing pages, and we see her every week. Every week, she's on missing pages, all the Facebook pages, like, hey, do you see her? And I'm like, I finally went to her and I'm like, hey, like, there's people looking for you. She goes, I don't ever want to go back to that home. I don't give a shit what my dad wants. Right? Like, she feels safe. Like, it's like, I'd rather be out here with strangers. I'm safer, and at least it's not someone I trusted and loved. Right? And that's a lot of our stories. Right? That's a lot of our stories. And so, that grooming actually starts in the home at a really young age sometimes. It even starts with religion if we want to get crazy. I'm not ready to talk, I'm going to throw that in. Like, that if you are not these things, then you're not going to add up, and then you end up chasing the things that where you want to belong, right? And so it's huge. So this is where we're going to, yes. This is my favorite, right? Survivor-driven programs need to be at the table. They need to be talked about. They need to be in our facilities. They need to be happening. Can't be the only survivor trying to advocate for this, but I know that for a fact because I have a lot of survivors in my life. But in the state of Utah, we lack survivor voices. And that are loud, I guess, and in the sense that it's still really, it's scary. And I don't want to be a voice for my story anymore. I want to be a voice for the people that are voiceless, right? I almost, like a couple of years ago, I shared so many times, I had no more empathy for myself. I was re-victimized, I was used for money. Literally, they trafficked me to get money for their organization, right? And I was so desensitized that I didn't even really have any connection to my story anymore, right? I was like, oh, this is not like so. Like I'm a huge advocate. Do not be exploited here, even in recovery, right? And so we want to involve survivors, we want voices, we want more of you guys. And everybody in here that has battled addiction, battled mental health, battled childhood trauma, sexual assault, trafficking, exploitation, disabilities, challenges, any of that, you're a survivor. You are a survivor. You are a survivor. I know it sounds a little feminine, but we can create a new word. Warriors. You guys are warriors. We can create a new, whatever that is. But like, We all have survived something that landed us in this room, definitely, right? You know, and I know that I'm not alone, but I definitely was scared to connect and make this story real.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that was, if you guys even knew my retirement plan, you guys would probably put me in a mental hospital forever. But anyways, I have so many people on that hit list, I'm like, going after them when I'm like 75, I'm like,
to get you in there.
you're in the perfect place for resources. But it took me addressing the root causes, right? I had to address that stuff that was being groomed, right? Where I was seeking validation, why I didn't feel self-worth, I didn't know who I was, why was I okay with this happening? I wasn't held to a wall, handcuffed. I got to leave all the time. I went to school, right? Like, I literally got arrested and went to prison. Like, I still didn't report these people, right? So I had to look deeper into those root causes of what happened to me. And why was I so okay with this happening? And never saying anything. Never saying anything until I'm 40 years old and I'm almost going to kill myself and have 10 years in recovery. It's the first time I ever came out with that. Because I was so like, I'm a gang member, and I've been in prison for 10 years, and I've done more dope than right? I was so good at that story. That other one, I did not know how to share it. I didn't even know the first clue to sharing it, right? I didn't even know, I had no idea. And it took me going to Thailand, which is so weird of a story to say, and really facing myself and doing energy work. And that's pretty cool for someone that, even at the age of 16, I literally was a high-risk felon that couldn't even leave the county or a house. Like, I had to have 3 different monitors, one at my grandpa's, one at my mom's, and one at the facility that I had to go check in at, to where I couldn't leave those areas because I was such a high-risk felon, right? Like, and I took so much pride in that. So for that girl to be able to say that she got on a plane and flew 24 hours and went to Thailand, that's pretty fun. But a plane for 24 hours with trauma is not cool. Say that right now. Oh, Lord, yeah. Not that I'm like, that brought a whole different response from me. Please start bringing that to me. But, right here, you guys know Survivors. Please tell them to get with people. Tell them to start being a voice. Tell them to get with organizations locally in their area or even locally in Salt Lake, or just get with someone and just start.
Do we have a list of survivor support services outside of Sons of Hope? Is there?
There's a few. There's a few. Journey Hope.
I need a list.
Okay.
For the jail.
Okay. So this is the cool part. We're gonna start getting into the stuff that I actually came here for. Initiatives matter, right? Like collaborating, partnerships, training, survivor voices, harm reduction. One thing the state of Utah doesn't have is a level 1 care facility for human trafficking. Period. Or sexual assault, like any of that. You actually can't even go into a domestic violence shelter if you've been trafficked in the state of Utah because it's not an interpersonal relationship. And so we have a lot of barriers here, like we got to train system-based programs, we got to train community-based programs, we got to train, right? And I don't know about it, training kind of sounds weird, but educate, bring awareness. I catch myself in the middle of like, oh, I just got on my soapbox for a minute there. Safe housing, survivors in the workforce, right? Like we need to have survivors in the workforce where they have a title as that, not as you were an addict and you were this and this and this, and that's why you work here. Like, right, you're a survivor.
And trauma-informed workplaces for survivors that might be employed there.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I have a lot of survivors that even like want to go back. They actually want to be in the trucking business, and it's so traumatic for them. So traumatic for them. But they want that slavery. They want to be that, which is kind of interesting to say because they want to be in their own control, right? By themselves, driving truck, and that's where they feel safe. But on those, in those environments, it's so traumatic, and some of them have gone across borders, right? Or been trafficked by truck drivers, or gotten dates and went from county to county or state to state, so it's different, but yes, I agree. Referral systems, this is gonna be huge. This is like drives me nuts. If people are in treatment with you guys for 90 days, or in your coaching programs, or you're their peer support, and this comes out maybe at their like 6 months, or you know it, and you just continue to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the one that helps this person, I'm gonna be the one that helps this person. Refer them out. Refer them to different people, or survivors, or trauma-informed, or good, like, it's not because you're losing control of your participant. It's because you're moving them forward in their healing journey.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it drives me bonkers, Lisa knows, because I was pissed about it. He's pissed about it.
Having multiple supports in your plan is important.
Right, oh yeah, it needs to. And one, harm reduction, and we need to reduce the stigma associated with drug use.
Amen.
That's just, like, all the way around, that just needs to happen for all of us that are survivors, mental health challenges, like all of those things that come in, like we have to reduce the stigma of that, because we cope with those. We have to. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a lot of people in here that are like, and heroin, and there's these shirts out there that have all this, whatever stuff, drives me nuts, because I'm gonna tell you, I have a lot of respect for your religion. At the age of 14, if I wasn't chasing a needle and a bag, I probably would have killed myself at the age of 14. Yeah. Literally, it kept me alive, where I kept on chasing it, getting up and chasing it. And part of my story is, I'm really cool while I have drugs, but when I run out.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people in here can relate, I don't know, maybe. But that one more, that I had to have that one more. I had to have that one more. And anytime I wasn't chasing that, all depression, isolation, darkness, suicidal ideation, flashbacks, trauma responses, triggers, I could not be in my own skin. But once I had that in my system, I was like the coolest person around. I was like, we're gonna rob some cars, we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna find some food to eat tonight, like we are on a mission. Like all of those things that I thought made me look cool. But as soon as I ran out, I have harmed some amazing people, including strangers, because I knew that one more, because I was so afraid to be in my own skin without it. And so, now we're to the harm reduction. This is this guy. I always say these things wrong. Does anybody have any problems with that? Awesome now is the one. I was like, are you really awesome? Like, right? So I'm just like, right, just read it. It's for yourself, because I'll slaughter it. Shamsha.
No, January, that's not it.
Oh man, who in here believes in harm reduction? You have to be if you're in this. I have some harm reduction advocates in this room. I want to honor them. And if Carrie just down. Carrie's my only other employee, and she's been with me, and I just wanted to know I couldn't afford anybody else because she's so perfect. I could replace her if I wanted to. Stand up. And some incredible volunteers and a lot of sassy saltiness.
So you're getting excited, and then you're talking fast, so come a little closer and talk slower. Just talk slower. I need you to enunciate, January.
5 minutes. Have I been doing well? Yes.
Yes, it's just been the last few minutes. She high-fives her staff over here. Okay.
Oh, you got me in trouble. What do you guys, let's just ask a few people, why do you guys believe in harm reduction? Someone.
Because the dirty needle killed my sister.
Save lives. Saves lives.
But people get to make their own choices.
Can't get better for death.
Taking chances, extra chances of life.
And if you put all that aside,
Huh?
the studies and the evidence out there are conclusive that it's effective.
Right, so it's, but yeah. What were you gonna say,
I think
Dan?
we're all at different places in their life, and just because the person may not be able to, willing or ready to finally recover doesn't mean they need to die from some stupid shit, you know?
Yeah.
You know, in my relapse, my last relapse was the first time in my life that harm reduction was ever a thing, and I used it.
Right, absolutely. So you're talking about a girl that was raised, when I got to recovery, I was targeted and groomed by old-timers and narcotics. That's what I'm saying. I was absolutely where they were like, accident, this, right? And so, yeah, and so when I found my own path of recovery and let go of that path at 10 years clean, 10 years in recovery, whatever. I know people say that, you know, if you say clean, that means you're dirty. And I was like, oh, I was kind of a dirty little bastard. And so, anyways, but, so, a lot of things shifted when, I need to tell you guys, when my story came out about trafficking and I was 10 years clean and I almost committed suicide, and I call it the smell of trauma. I was in a gas station and this guy walked by and he smelled like biker, grease, oil, cocaine, BO, and I barely made it home. And the smell of trauma paralyzed me, and all of these things about what happened to me came in these flashbacks, and I didn't know how I was gonna make it out alive, right? And at that time, it spiraled me into this. I started selling myself online. Yes, I'm still in recovery. I started cheating on a 10-year relationship that I was with, and I started acting out sexually in this like seeking, aggressive sexual behavior, and I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what was going on, right? I was like, oh, this sounds like a good time. And it was not, right? And I almost killed myself because I didn't want to pick up a needle again in my life. And what happened is I had to change everything. I left that relationship. My 17-year-old actually left the house. She was like, I don't want to be raised by you anymore. Like, I need a family. I need somebody that's going to notice me. And I didn't know how to do that right at this time, right? I was gone all the time. I was spending all my money at strip clubs. I was taking women home. I was a nut job, right? Everybody in the 12-step community that were my friends thought I was contagious, and so they quit hanging out with me. They didn't want nothing to do with me. Pushed me so far away that I didn't know if I was going to make it back here, right? And all I was doing was screaming for help, right? And it took me crawling back, and I did make my way back, went into a meeting and lost my mind, right? And right then and there, I just picked up everything I had, and I said, I'm just gonna move to Salt Lake. I'm gonna start my own recovery community, and I'm gonna start meeting new people. I got hired at USARA at the time, and I started to learn more about harm reduction and my own story, and what I needed in my story at the time, and what would have changed my life, right? And that's like this planted a seed of why I started Soap to Hope, right? Where I was like, I wish somebody would have knocked on my hotel room when I was being trafficked in or sold in at like 14. Like, I wish somebody would have offered me a clean supply and I wasn't sharing and picking them off the ground or sharpening them on the sidewalk. Like, I wish somebody would have given me condoms instead of me being in an abortion clinic 3 times before I was 15. You know what I mean? I wish somebody would have offered me Plan B. But I was like, what is going on? Like, and so that's the start of my story of Soap to Hope, and harm reduction became really something that I needed to seek and be a part of and build out for me, right? And so harm reduction might have a different relationship with you guys, but I think it's effective, and it has all of these things that you guys talked about that opens new doors for other people, right? And it has purpose and it has meaning, right? And yes, is there a lot of, even as a harm reduction program, you don't get funding, I'll tell you that. Donors do not want to donate to you.
United States.
Yeah, the donors don't want to donate to a surrender exchange program. They think you're co-signing, right? They think that's gross, dirty,
That's
all.
what they do in Toronto.
Yeah, and so it has been very difficult to keep this afloat. I'm gonna just keep it super real. Some days I'm like, maybe I need to put an ad back online. See if I can get some funds coming in. Right, like just kind of like, how do you keep this going? It is, and it is not the cheapest at all, right? And so, we are, oh, I love that girl. She's one of the first girls I've ever met out there. Uh-oh, what happened? Is there something on there? Small? I know. Hey, this is who we are. Social Hope helps build awareness, offers resources, and advocates for women, men, and teenagers who have been sexually exploited, trafficked, and working in the high-risk sex trade, involved with facing addictions, abuse, trauma in our local vulnerable communities. So we offer night street outreach, harm reduction programs, victim advocacy, and recovery support. And we're an approved surrender change program with the state of Utah, and we are community partners with Utah Naloxone and other harm reduction programs to offer overdose prevention, and we are trying to bridge a gap. I love night. I love night outreach. I love bridging that gap. Is there a lot of things that we deal with at night? There's a whole different belly of beast that happens at nighttime. Gang members, unpredictability, the movement of needing by that time they need what they haven't gotten, when they have all day and they have to, and just there's more movement, right? Like we're so afraid to leave out during the day. I don't know about you guys, but during the day I wasn't going out, right? That's like I was afraid I'm on parole, I'm on the run, all of these things, right? And so nighttime is when I move around. So we get to meet a lot of different people, and we have a lot of referral systems. And so this is us. And it's the complex relationship between addiction and both labor and sex trafficking. And let's just be honest about the labor trafficking in here with addiction and criminal backgrounds.
Yeah.
That is awful. That is even happening right now in our room. Let's just be real. Because you have a criminal background, you're probably working 70 hours a week, and you're making $14 an hour. Yeah, tell your boss, that's good.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I'm taking notes for next time.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm trying to learn how to use different words too, because I'm like, ram over now. And so, that is huge. And I'm going to tell you a story. Like, there's traffickers actually target girls while they're in prison, start writing them, start letting them know, hey, we got a house for you, an apartment, we're going to give you a job, all of those things, and those girls come out and they have already been groomed, targeted, and they owe, right? So they sent them got some commissary, put some money on their books, had a couple people bring in some drugs for them. Already, all that stuff is already starting at that time, right? And then when we get out here, that happens in our systems, even with like labor trafficking, where a lot of our people are super educated, work to the bone, and because they have a criminal background, been in prison, they will always get the $17 an hour when somebody else just got hired for 27. And so there's a lot of that because of our addiction, our background. I know that there's a lot of people in the work trying to change that workforce, being and calling out the exploitation of that population. But for me, we are bridging that gap with addiction, can increase a person's vulnerability to be trafficked, and can initiate and manipulate by the trafficker as a means of coercion and control. 2, victim and survivors use addiction as a coping skill, right? So it keeps that that piece. Go ahead and just tell them that I'm using this right here. Then it's hard to break that cycle even when we get here, right? Then we get like 6 months, 7 months, a year, 2 years. We don't know how to hold a relationship. We're back in abusive relationships where we are acting out sexually, and then we put put ourselves at risk and then we relapse, right? And then we're back there coping again with these skills. And so we see a lot of those in here. And then obviously night outreach provides a safe and supportive environment, at a vulnerable time. Night is vulnerable. We want non-exposure. I don't believe in that our homeless camps are petting zoos. Like we drive by or take people and show them that this is what, you know what I mean? Like we have very limited volunteers that go out with us too. It takes a lot to come out with us, even though we should, like, you guys are kind of like out there. So it takes a lot. And then our philosophy, right? Like we believe everybody should have access to health care and support. Our program is centered around harm reduction, which prioritizes the safety and well-being of individuals who engage in risky behaviors such as drug use and risky sexual behaviors, right? And that is huge that we, oh man, I mean, I'll share about it in a minute. Our Surrender Change programs aims to reduce the transmission of bloodborne infections, prevent overdose deaths, and improve all public health among people who inject drugs, the PWID. I love some of these acronyms, some days I'm like, what the hell? Survivor support, you know that I'm a critical component to that. I believe in that, it's huge. And our mission is to just meet people where they're at. Just meet them where they're at, right? And that's a huge part of our philosophy. What we do out there has been incredible to build this out. I love it.
It looks pretty, I like that.
If you guys don't know about this, you better know about this. But anyway, she's one of our community partners that works at Markdale Clinic. She comes out every Tuesday with us and does healthcare. Like all volunteers. It's crazy. It's crazy. She actually freaks. She's like, where am I going on Tuesday? What route am I going on Tuesday? I'm like, dude, we're just trying to get coffee. We're just like barely loading up. You know what I mean? We offer all of these. One of my favorite things is pure distribution of the supplies. Pure distribution is huge. I mean, Pures distribute all of these supplies, offering this connection and communicating with these, the people that we serve has probably been the game changer for us. The outcome, the data, the opportunities, the conversations that happen because it's pure distribution of revenue. And am I on time?
It's 2:56. What time is this end? 3:15? Okay.
Yes. And helping people navigate resources that we pick up, we transport, we do their medication pickup for Hep C, like we go pick it up from the clinic, from a specialty pharmacy that has to get approved and then sent here, and then we get to go pick it up and then we bring it back to their hotel, their homeless camp every week, so that they get their Hep C treatment while they're actively using and still be doing some incredible things and making that decision for themselves, right? And so we do all that with them, right? We navigate all of those resources. We do a lot of community engagement. We hand out probably about 300 to 400 naloxone kits a month with naloxone and juice, and report all of those and train and teach and like show and letting them know that they matter. And I mean, and we see a lot of loss and we see a lot of wins. It's always heartbreaking to know that when you go out there and someone's been in their tent for 3 days and they overdose by themselves and that nobody didn't go check on them and they just thought they were in there, right? Like we see a lot of that stuff. Or a girl that's been missing and all of a sudden she's found in Pennsylvania and left on the side of the road from a date that she had with a truck driver, whatever those things are, right? Like it's, but at the same time, like we have girls flying out of state that go into aftercare trafficking programs. We have people that are getting ready to graduate treatment right around the corner. We have people that we have picked up to taken the detox 6 times and they still say, hey, I want to go back. Hey, let's go back. You know what I mean? Or like it's been incredible to have those collaborations and offering testing. Now we're doing conformity tests out there where we're actually, the barrier is getting these guys in for that next step, and then we're doing the blood drawn at our locations now. And like, it's just been incredible to build out these partnerships, right? And these are all the little links that we do that I just talked about, like this mobile services. We have no office. We meet you always where you're at, regardless of side road, a hotel. We knock on every hotel door we go to, regardless if somebody's there just traveling. We're like, hey, do you want some ID? They're like, no. Okay, let me buy. Right? It doesn't matter. Take your condoms. And all of our section, yeah. And a lot of our victim advocacy, I do a lot of trainings with law enforcement. It is ridiculous that like some areas, if a girl, the hardest part for me too is like digital equity, right? A girl gets raped and she doesn't even have a phone to call the police. And that's heartbreaking. So we do a lot of digital equity. We buy phones, we give them a phone, 1 month service. We do different things, especially ones that are super high risk. We just really try to see them and meet them where they're at, but we train a lot of law enforcement. There's people that like literally, I've sat there with a girl that actually called and reported a rape, and it took them 2 hours to come there because of the area that it was. They just don't give a shit about these people in certain areas, especially if they're in hotels. Some of the low-end, crime-infested, drug-infested hotels, the cops are just like, oh, it's just another country. It's just another country. Like, we'll get there when we get there, right? A lot of that peer support is to build that trust and empathy and decrease stigma, and then our mobile services is just to expand and reach to people who have not have access to traditional outreach methods, and reaching a wider audience and increasing that accessibility. And this is my favorite part, right? You always want to relocate someone, right? Regardless if it's in detox, treatment, relocate them out of state into safety. And like you said earlier, relocate them into choice, right? Where they're empowered to choose. Hey, I need condoms this time, right? Because like the 6 other times they met you, I don't do that. And we just wait for them to tell us, hey, yeah, I want condoms this time, right? Navigating options, right? And then reduction, right? We all want to reduce whatever's going on, right? Decrease the sharing of supplies, overdose deaths, barriers, accessing those resources, reducing, obviously, you know me, I'm gonna try to fight. It's trafficking is so complex, right? It's so complex. And decrease sex trafficking, especially with this population that we work with, it's already stigmatized and targeted. And then recovery, right? We want these guys to have case management, community engagement, service projects, even when they're out or just involved, long-term support, aftercare programs, trauma-informed programs, and housing stability, and just support people on all pathways, just all pathways. So that's our 3 R's. Carrie, if you didn't know, those were our 3 R's.
I'm exhausted watching all of this.
And this is my favorite part. Like, right, we just got data, right? We gotta have data, right? We absolutely, everybody we meet, we track, we put them in, our volunteers put all of our information into these spreadsheets. I got a pretty good system. I have a pretty good system. I don't know about it. But like, this is incredible, and I believe in duplicated services. Like consistently meeting with the people over and over and over and letting them know that they matter, that they're not forgotten, that they get options and choices, and that they can continue to get supplies until they make that decision and have choice and say, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, right? Or hey, like, can I talk to you about something else? Whatever that is, right? Hey, I have an odor, I have a smell, I can't even work because I have an untreated STD. Whatever that is, right? Consistently meeting with them and going to the same spots over and over, even if we meet one person in those 2 hours or if we meet 45, we still show up to those spots. Doesn't matter. And so these are how many people we meet a month, right? That's pretty crazy for 2 people that are crazy, than hell. I guess she's more sound-minded than I am. But anyways, I mean, in September we had like 900 people. You know what I mean? And 80% of those women that we meet are high-risk sex workers or been exploited or experienced trauma. That is absolutely without our women at risk. And have some horrific stories that are happening still. You know, last year we had 8 women pregnant out there, still IV drug using, still just super homeless, like chronic homeless, like, and just refusing to go into the healthcare system, abscesses, like that's a lot to go homeless sometimes, right? Or having babies while they're driving in a stolen car that hits the floorboard, or finally saying, yes, I'll go with you to Super Rat, whatever those services that we offer, but like it's just, and how many, 2 of them, the girls went to treatment with their babies, and the other like 6, like those babies are somewhere else, but not with their mom, and they're still out on our outreach, right? So it's a lot sometimes that you see out there. And how long do we have, Lisa?
We have 10 minutes. Are you
Oh, yeah.
gonna take questions? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna take, I know, it takes a village. Anybody can ask me a question, or I'll start asking you guys questions. I love getting in people's business.
How can we get involved?
That's a good
Will you
question.
repeat the question?
Huh?
Repeat it for me.
How does someone get involved with Soap to Hope? We do service projects once a month where we build all the hygiene packs. It takes a lot to go with us on the outreach part because we are night and there's different things, but that comes with you, and we want to show commitment, right? Like you coming to our service projects or our naloxone kit building projects, that like if we show that, continue to show up for those, then yeah, then we start working on you being involved and volunteered on the outreach part sometimes, but we want more commitment. We don't want people to just see someone's time and kind of be like, oh yeah, that's exposure therapy and look what I did, right? Like this badge, we don't do all that. But like and so if you were to get on our social media, Facebook, we announce our service projects on there.
Do you have any data, like, with your harm reduction on how many people that have actually reached out to you to get into treatment or get help?
Oh yeah, we have. I mean, really, in reality, there's a lot of people that actually we meet with weekly that want out. But making that step, or like, I mean, the risk, right? Like you're talking about even taking someone to get STD tested and they have a severe STD, right? Like for them to leave all of their stuff that could be at risk of being stolen, not like they have to get well, right? Like it's always easier to get well than get better at times, or they just don't know if they're gonna come back to the same spot, or they're gonna be invaded, or whatever. And so a lot of people want out, it's just that next step, right? And so you just gotta consistently meet with them. But it's been incredible. I mean, it's been incredible to some of the people we find. And we work with survivors all the way, where we pay their flight. We have a survivor or a peer support fly with them out of state one way, or drop them off to another advocate, and then they fly back, right? Or we keep in touch with them the whole way that they're flying. Like we just do incredible stuff to get some our victims out of trafficking. Yeah. So, anybody else?
This is about Hep C treatment. Does Martindale offer that even if you can't pass a drug test? Because I get that question a lot.
Oh yeah, Martindale treats Hep C while you're actively using.
Okay.
And so does Project Reality.
Project Reality.
We'll still actively treat Hep C. Well, we'll treat Hep C while you're actively using,
Okay.
which is one of the coolest
Yes.
things that's
That
happened
needs to
over
be
the
the
last.
place and strong places will.
No, absolutely. There's like you have to have 6 months abstinent. Actually, there's a lot of healthcare.
Medicaid's changing the rules.
Oh, like where it's positive for our rate or
Yes.
no? I was like,
No, they're changing it so, like, they're not.
oh yeah, because that's a lot of insurance will require that. That's awesome.
Okay, that's good to know.
Will you say that again?
With what?
What you just said?
That Medicaid is changing some of the requirements for Hep C treatment,
cool.
that you don't have to be fully abstinent for 6 months at least. Hello, my friend.
Can you talk a little bit about, I think a lot of folks come into work like this because they want to like save people.
Oh.
And they have a chance, like there's the attendant, we want you to go to these doctors, we want you to do this, we want you to do this for that, and talk about it enough, but that would, it really needs to meet people where they are and,
Not have a savior complex.
yeah, so can you talk about that like in a word, because I think,
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother workshop. We should do that. But I'm gonna tell you what happens in the Survivor world. Is survivors come in being like, I'm rescuing people. I hate that word rescue. But, so, I know, I'm gonna get. Rescue, right? Like, we're not here to rescue people, right? We're here to connect you, walk through this, and build these out, and I think that's the real true, I mean, a lot of our, I gotta say, our harm reduction advocates and programs in the state of Utah, I feel like all of us are on that page of like, we do not save. Like, we're all out there just being like, let's meet people where they're at, let's show up consistently, let's figure out where you're going, we'll be over here, we're gonna try to, we'll refer during the day. Do not, like, I don't go meet people during the day because I know that there's 6 other organizations out. They refer to me at night because they know that they close down. It's been incredible to watch that, right? Where, like, there's no savior or possession or just all collaboration and comprehensive collaboration. It's pretty effective, right? But no, I've done it lots of times on Facebook too. The savior complex is horrific. And if any of you guys are in here thinking you're gonna save someone, like meet with somebody, go have coffee, call me, I will check you. I will check you.
I am so sorry, but we are actually over time. I know, we could do this for another hour, but please remember everybody to take the survey, to get the January